We keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And this story piqued my interest as the two most popular sports in America are happening right now. Number one, the National Football League. And number two, being college football. And college football, obviously this season going in with the new teams being realigned and the college football playoff bracket expanding, the biggest story still is NIL and how these players are transferring and what kind of payroll you have to compete in college football these days. And it's interesting because all of us, I think most of us, I think a lot of us, were pro players getting paid. And I think a lot of us believe that the NCAA wasn't equipped enough to do that, to be the ones that led that charge and were the ones that should oversee it once it started becoming a thing. But we all agreed it had to happen. Or again, I should say a lot of people, enough people agreed on some level in a capitalistic society, these adults, young adults, but adults should get paid when these universities, these private institutes are making so much money on their labor. But what has happened is there is really no filter. There is no middleman. The middleman is anybody. The trustees, the boosters, the universities, there's so many different red tapes in the bureaucracy of how these money get exchanged. And then there's this downright people who are doing predatory things to these college athletes. And when this story came out, it was one that is one of many, I think. This comes to us from Awful Announcing. ESPN report raises red flags about ESPN's Kendrick Perkins NIL company. It feels predatory. On Thursday, Kendrick Perkins found himself in the spotlight at the worldwide leader for a different reason than his popularity on NBA coverage, with ESPN's Dan Marver publishing a report that raised red flags about the former NBA center's new NIL company. The company, Nilly, offers high school and college athletes upfront cash in exchange for the right to sell their name, image, and likeness while taking a percentage of the profits. The upfront payment ranged from $25,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars, with the company receiving between 10 to 50% of the players' NIL earnings for up to 7 years. Although there are companies that sell investors a stake in an athlete's future professional salaries, Nilly is believed to be the first to offer cash advances on NIL earnings. ESPN obtained one contract that Nilly signed with a high school athlete, which pays the player $50,000 in exchange for the exclusive rights to sell his NIL for the next 7 years, with the company taking 25% of the player's future NIL earnings up to $125,000. The player is also required to make monthly social media posts, sign 10 autographs, and be available for at least one public appearance per year. In an interview with ESPN, Perkins, who co-founded the company with Wall Street veteran Chris Ricciardi, focused on the portion of the contract that pays players up front. Quote, "You have so many athletes and their parents who are struggling day to day," Perkins said, "because we're actually taking a bit of a gamble on what the student athlete is going to make in an NIL space. The benefit is the kid, the student athlete, is able to get financial security so they don't have to rush." End quote. Multiple finance experts, however, raised concerns about such deals, liking them to high interest loans. Quote, "To me, it feels like you're preying on people who need the capital now and using that to cloud their focus on the future," said Michael Haddock Jr., the CEO at Scout, which provides financial education seminars to college athletic departments. "It feels predatory, and it's capitalizing on young people who need money and haven't thought through the long-term implications." And the last thing I want to add from this article that continues, added Utah law professor Chris Peterson, who was previously an advisor for the federal government's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Quote, "These are trashy products designed to take advantage of young kids." Check out the entire article over at Awful Announcing. ESPN report raises red flags about ESPN's Kendrick Perkins NIL company. It feels predatory. So, yeah, look, it does feel predatory. It does feel like it was always going to end this way. And to think that this kind of stuff wasn't happening before would be naive. But I think the real issue is when you have a media company, not even a news company, not a journalism company, because that's not what ESPN is, but when ESPN, the media company, allows or lets a news story go out that points out the predatory nature of a business which is co-founded by one of the big names on your stations, on all your channels, in your third most popular sport in the NBA, in Kendrick Perkins, and they allow it to happen, you know that there's some bad feelings. There's some people behind the scenes that don't like what they've seen, what they've heard, reports that have come out, stuff that we haven't heard yet. That's just my assumption in the matter. Everybody knows the expression, you know what happens when you assume. But when these companies are allowing some of their personalities, big enough names that are there for NBA playoff games, NBA All-Star games, NBA Finals, everything you can think of, they're on SportsCenter, they're on all the debate shows, and this story comes out, it's not good. And for the students and the families, it's not like these parents and these students aren't being taken advantage of in high school. Now it's just in college up front. But this was an interesting story. I wanted to just know your thoughts because there's always a lot of responsibility put on the parents and the students. Obviously so, right? Like, it's your own responsibility when you sign the service terms of a website or of a phone or of a video game. But we always put all the pressure on these 17, 16, 18-year-olds. And we never look at the people who are taking advantage of them, who find opportunity to gain success on other people's suffering or purely just getting one up on somebody. So I want to know your thoughts. Let us know. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. We're on YouTube at The Sports Cubicle. Search us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Sports from the Couch. Of course, you can check out The Sports Cubicle over at WCPT 820 SoundCloud and our mothership, HeartlandSignal.com. Don't forget, you can get the book, Lucha Dog, over at Amazon. Just search Lucha Dog or go to luchadog.com.